G'day everyone, welcome to another exciting edition of DURKO's Notebook. This time it's the 2024 Brazilian Grand Prix. There was certainly a lot of action on and off track, so anyway, got a lot to talk about. So pull up a pew, sit back, relax and enjoy the show. You wouldn't fucking read about it. So for the course of the weekend there was some rain predicted, but not as much as we got. It was wet. It was wet as a teenage boy's dream. And that caused a lot of delays over the course of the weekend and pushed back, obviously, quality to Sunday morning, which in itself took 2 hours. Now, some of the talking points, of course, over the weekend were the flag issue that took nearly 39 or 40 seconds for the red flag to come out, which obviously stuffed up Max's position within qualifying because a number of cars were going off because the conditions were that wet and slippery, but Max's issue was that the issue with the delay in bringing out that red flag. But I think it also comes back on Red Bull themselves for the way they'd positioned Max during qualifying in that run, that other cars were allowed through to complete the lap and then the flag was brought out. So there's some argument there that they took too long to bring the flag out. There's also an argument to say to Red Bull, hang on, you had your driver in a car in a position that didn't work out ultimately for whatever happened with the flag coming out. So I know it sounds weird to explain it, but it's just a case of bad luck for Max, and I think they've just got to accept it. Obviously, Albon, he had a massive off and absolutely bent the shit out of that Williams. And there's really, I'm sure James Vowles is looking forward to coming to the end of the season when he can actually go back and reassess the books to see how they're going to pay for next season, because they've had some big bills this year in terms of fixing cars. But the saving grace was to get rid of Logan Sargent. But anyway, this weekend has been one to forget, especially for Williams. Now we go on to the race itself. Now, I can't fathom how this bloke is going to remain in the car. I know his dad owns the team, but Lance Stroll, seriously, he's on the formation lap and he spins off. And then as he's trying to correct himself, he spins it, puts the steering on full lock to the left, bags up the rears, and just goes straight into the gravel trap and bogs it. So why, when he's got all this hard real estate around him, that he couldn't fathom thinking, oh yeah, I need to take the car that way, maybe bag it up to the right and stay on the hard stuff. But no, he's gone straight into the gravel, into the kitty litter, and bogged it. So that's his weekend over. His mechanics had to rebuild the car anyway because he'd already binned it into the walls. So he had a new gearbox and rear end suspension put on that car, and then he's just stuck at the gravel trap for like it's almost a novelty to him. So I just can't fathom why his old man and that team are going to retain him as a driver. It is just becoming beyond a joke, and he's an embarrassment to the sport. That's all I can say on that. So once that original start was aborted, we came back with a really small grid and it got away. Now, I'm going to give credit to Max. Sure, I tend to put shit on the bloke at times. Not a fan of him, of course. But his racecraft this weekend was incredible, and it showed that when he puts his mature helmet on and his mature head comes into it, he can drive like a man possessed, and that's what he did this weekend to obviously just carve up the field. And maybe the slower conditions on the inter tyres and the setup Red Bull brought to this worked for them because their car is not the fastest on the grid. But Max just drove the skin off it. But I'm going to give credit to Colapinto for the overtake of the weekend when he went around Lewis Hamilton. That going into turn one of the centre S's was just unreal. Obviously, Colapinto then went on to have his crash, which brought about another red flag. Now, Doug Parker raised the point here. What's the point in the teams effectively getting a free pit stop if they're going to come in for the red flag stop in the pit lane? Because Alpine the whole weekend never did a pit stop in their car. They did it during the red flag stop in the pit lane. Now, obviously, Max got the advantage of fresh tyres there, as did just about every other driver. So Lando was disadvantaged because he'd pitted not long before that to get his fresh boots. So should the rule be changed if you come into the pit lane for a race red flag restart as a rolling start when they get going again once whatever's cleared up, should the mechanics not allowed to be touching the cars at all to repair anything, change the tyres, anything other than put the cooling fans on them so they don't blow up the engines. I think changing the tyres under that condition is shit, and it should go back to being changing the tyres only under race conditions, which I think ultimately may have affected or assisted in some way Max's overall outcome. Yeah, Perez, he's obviously had another off, and he's just having a season to forget. Now, there was a shitload of red flags all weekend, all through free practice, the sprint race, all that sort of stuff. And I was getting concerned for the marshals that they're going to have to get new red flags because they were just wearing them out. They looked at Amazon or eBay for replacement products. But as I said, it was a great drive by Max overall, and he turned up with his mature head on this weekend, and it showed. But yeah, I still think the change of the top, him getting fresh boots in the pit lane under the red flag conditions was certainly something that assisted him, and if he hadn't got it, would he have won the race? That's something to ponder. Anyway, the hot rumour is Bortoletto is going to take the drive at Sauber next year, so that means Joe and Bottas are both out of a drive. So it'll be the last seat taken up for the silly season. So, yeah, what an incredible weekend of action on and off the track with most drivers spinning or sticking the car on the wall. One last thing I want to say was, of course, Hulk. Now, was it fair for him to be disqualified because he did get pushed back onto the circuit because he beached his car? I think disqualification was probably a bit harsh. Sure, potentially if he'd got a points finish review, give him, say, a 20-second penalty so that he's out of the points, but for the sake of the team and his sponsors and whatever, let the bloke keep racing. I think it's fair to disqualify the bloke right at the end of the race, or halfway through the race when he's coming under the red flag. Anyway, he's just got a garage car. I think that was a cruel decision. I think a huge time penalty could have been more applicable to that incident. So anyway, that's it for this edition of DURKO's Notebook, and I will talk to you in a couple of weeks' time when we go under the lights on the strip at Las Vegas. Until then, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.